Exactly. And the other tip I give with computers is that you want to stimulate your peripheral field. So most people think of vision just as what we call visual acuity is how sharp you see in the eye chart. That's what you get glasses for, right? That's kind of one aspect. But the visual field is how far is your peripheral field and really wide. Can have up to 220 degrees, beyond 180 degrees on the sides. And then on the bottom, we have more peripheral than on the top, right? Because we don't have a lot of predators from the top.
Thank you so much for joining us on another awesome Bioenergetic Beats. I'm Heather Gray, a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and certified bioenergetic practitioner, and today is brought to you by Nikki, Unleash the Wellness Within. It's a non-invasive, easily affordable, highly effective approach to wellness. It's a wearable device that puts frequency better based life in your hands and on your wrist. I've got two. Make sure to stick to the very, very end because you're not going to want to miss one word that my next guest has to say, but we also have a wonderful giveaway that you're going to want to learn about. So stay tuned, right? But without further ado, let's welcome our special guest today, a personal friend of mine, and I love this conversation. Let's welcome to the show, Miss Claudia. Yay!
Thank you so much, Hannah, for having me.
Absolutely. I can't believe I haven't had you on the show yet. I dawned on me the other day. I'm like, oh my gosh, why haven't we had you on this show yet? So I'm glad we fixed that. And I'm glad you guys turned around and got booked quickly. So I'm super excited. So tell us a little bit about yourself, my dear. Like, I know your story, but this is a whole new audience and why I know so many people are still so fixed on eye health and there's nothing you can do for it. And once you're wearing glasses, you're always in glasses and you kind of turn things upside down and you've definitely changed my life. I'm 47 years old. They told me when I had LASIK that I was going to be in readers by 40. I'm 47. I still don't have to wear readers. And I practice a lot of the things that I've learned from you over the years, and it's amazing how well my eyes are doing. So I can't wait to have this conversation with you on this show. So yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like what got you started on this journey?
I think for me, the biggest thing was to realize that what we are told about glasses, what you just said, it actually doesn't work. It makes it worse. And I was lucky to be bullied and teased as a kid. I was born in the 1960s. And out of 35 children in my classroom, I was the only one with glasses. So I was always told there's something not right with you, there's something wrong with your eyeballs. And I was determined as I got a little older, because I got them at 3 years old. As I was a little older, I was determined there must be something you can do. And in fact, I figured it out and got out of glasses. But then I was back in glasses to what you just touched on, right? I was just in my late 30s and my near vision declined and I had trouble seeing at night and I was back in glasses. And then I thought, oh, well, you're at that age. But then I noticed how quickly my vision got worse wearing the glasses. And I'm like, wait a moment, I've done this before. And that's when I really got serious about vision improvement and learned everything about it. Because before I was reading books and as a kid, I could figure it out myself. But as I got older, I need a little bit more help.
That's funny. That makes a lot of sense too, because we have so much conditioning, right, as we get older, and the rigidity and what's right and what's wrong, and doctors are gods, and don't get me wrong, they have their place. But as we're starting to find out with so many things, like I've reversed autoimmune diseases, why can't you reverse, poor eyesight? And why can't we look at that in the same aspect of health and wellness as we do the rest of the parts of our body? Like, why are our eyeballs different from everything else, right?
That's what I always say. It's even in holistic health and functional medicine, there's really a blind spot around vision. For
Haha, blind spot. Ha 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 ha.
No, but it's true. It's like, I mean, it's so true. And everybody wears glasses and thinks there's nothing you can do, but yet everything else can be reversed or healed, or, we have to address the root cause. That's what, everybody talks about the root cause, and I do too. But with vision, somehow it's been totally ignored. And so that's why I'm here today to educate your audience on that. It's just like everything else.
Amen. Oh my gosh, I love that. All right, well, this is not a bad time. We're going to actually stop real quick because she gave us her background. So we're going to stop real quick for a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to dive deeper into what are you talking about? How can you reverse this? What do you mean I don't need to wear glasses anymore? What do you mean there's a root cause to, my poor vision? So we're going to answer all these questions plus more when we come back. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
There's a new word for wellness, Nikki. Nikki is your personal wellness companion. a sleek wearable device that lets you choose from a variety of programs to match your day. With a simple tap on the Nikki screen, you can explore wellness programs created for different moments and lifestyles. Need a lift? Select energy. Looking to unwind? Tap stress and anxiety. Want to feel more at ease? Choose pain. Heading out on a trip? Try travel to help you feel ready for new adventures. From busy mornings to quiet evenings, Nikki puts a variety of wellness experiences right at your fingertips and on your wrist. Life moves fast. Nikki moves with you. It's a portable way to bring wellness technology into your everyday routine, wherever life takes you. Your day, your choice, your wellness program. Nikki Wellness Technology. Delivering frequency enhanced health. We are Nikki.com.
Awesome. Welcome back. So yes, the today's topic is seeing clearly without glasses in 2026. So, tell us a little bit how this works, because like I said, most of us, a lot of people, it's going to be the first time they hear this, right? I remember the first time I met you, I was like, wait, what? And then my functional medicine brain was like, duh, anything else can be reversible. Why can't that? So it was funny how it was a blind spot. Haha. But yeah, so tell us a little bit more about the mechanism and what are some of the root causes?
First of all, we actually see in the brain, not in the eyeball. So eye doctors are really good at looking at the eyeball. I always say 100% of the focus is on the what's actually the 10%. So yes, the eyeball is the receiver, just like the ears are the receivers of sound, the eyes are the receivers of light. But even the retina at the back of the eye is part of the brain, and we perceive in the brain. We know when we look at remember that black blue dress that everybody was like 10 years ago was like arguing, no, it's white and gold, no, it's black and blue. And because our brain makes a lot of assumptions about what we see around us, which is based from bias, from experience, from memories, from things we've seen before. If we look at something completely new, we actually create a blur in our vision because the brain is trying to figure out what are we looking at. So this has been studied and observed when people look at even a text in a foreign language they don't speak, that there is a little bit of a blur. It's called a refractive error. So the brain is kind of like, I always think like a camera that's trying to focus. It's like, and you don't really quite know yet. So vision and you I had you on my show, right? We talked about Lyme and mold and all these things and how that affects visual contrast, sensitivity. Vision is basically like it's based on what I teach is based on nervous system regulation, vision habits, and really learning how to use the eyes that were designed to be used as a passive sensory organ, right? So there's a lot of different factors to that. And one thing I always say is that eyes are light receivers. Yet we are told that light is super dangerous for our eyes, right? We always told sunlight is crazy and dangerous. We need to protect our eyes. And yes, there is a level of brightness that is too much. Just like when we go to a really loud concert, we should wear earplugs, right? There is a level of where it's too much. But it's like I always say, imagine we have to wear earmuffs all the time to protect our ears from sound. That doesn't make sense, right? So that's kind of the foundation of what I do. It's not eye exercises really, but we can dive deeper into that.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, and it was fascinating. So, thank you for those analogies. That really makes a lot of sense. Could you imagine if we were all walking around with earmuffs? Like if God intended us to need, right, eyeglasses, why wouldn't we we have natural shades, but we don't because our eyes are supposed to see the light. Fascinating. So tell us a little bit more about the root causes that you're finding with people and vision and how it can be, it's not, I love, because I was just on your webinar not too long ago, and I love how you pointed out that a lot of times your prescription, it's not a set in stone thing, right? That our eyes are constantly changing. And I notice that now that I'm not wearing anything. And so to think that, okay, this is your prescription and this is what you're in for the next year is just ludicrous.
So I always say the root cause of blurry vision is stress. And that sounds super simple, but think about it. What happened about a year or two before you got glasses or your vision got blurry? Many times it could have been in childhood. it was an adverse childhood event. Maybe I got bullied and teased, right? I was not like a child that had friends. I was always the lonely child, and I was always scared of other things. I was always made fun of. So you get into this protective rhythm, and your brain is basically, or your nervous system wants to protect you. So it's easier to blur things out and not see them. So stress can also lead us to comfort food eating, taking, I don't know, smoking weed, drinking wine. All the bad habits often are resulting in stress. And stress can go all the way from like, I'm feeling a little bit too much, chronically busy, stressed, in that sympathetic nervous system to huge trauma. So there's the whole gamut. But that's usually the reason that something isn't aligned well, and that causes vision problems. That could also cause gut problems and other problems. You know that. So not everybody expresses stress as a vision problem, but many people do.
Oh, absolutely. I think it was Dr. Tom Green, who talks about uh the weak link in your genetic system, right? So if you've got stress, that it'll manifest one way in somebody else and another way in somebody else. And so, maybe if your weak link is your eyes, that might be the key of what brings that on. And so yeah, no, that's fascinating to think that. And after I moved to Mexico, after my divorce, after my cat died, after losing everything and noticing my vision getting worse again, and I was like, oh crap. I'm stressed out, I need to get back to my tools again. And sure enough, so I went from having to wear readers for a couple of weeks and vision night glasses at night to not having to wear anything at all again. Like quickly able to turn it around as soon as I remembered my tools and started using them again. So kind of tell us a little bit about some of the things that you've seen with people, especially in their head, especially older folks. They're like, am I too old? Is anybody too old to reverse this work?
Nobody is ever too old to make improvements. I never say reverse because we don't even know. First of all, we never know where people started from. So they could have gotten glasses at me at age 3, and then what are you actually reversing? And also, like with anything in health, we don't know, right? At the end of the day, I'm educating people on their vision. I'm teaching them how to reduce their glasses, get out of glasses, become less light sensitive, resting the eyes, improving things like saccadic eye movement. So there's different aspects working with the brain, memory, imagination, because again, we see in the brain. So those are all things, but I'm educating people. At the end of the day, I always say they have to do the work, right? So I cannot control what people do and also how what I call the strains and gains, like being aware how their vision changes all day long and then noticing, like you just talked about, you moved to Mexico, things are better for you, you're happier, versus being in that stress. I remember my divorce, my vision was horrible during my divorce. Because I mean, and then I moved like you from another continent. So during that time, my vision was not great, but I also knew this was temporary so that I could, like you said, the tools, but also, do you love your life? Do you like what you see? Or is it like every day is like, the mindset, how we think about, are we grateful? One thing I start teaching people right away, people always say, I'm blind without my glasses. I'm like, oh, really? Like, you seem to have a very mild nearsightedness or something. So we have this language around our eyes that's very negative. And how can we change it to something? Thank you for letting me see beauty, or thank you for letting me see colors, or whatever, not fake it till you make it statements, but something that is changing your thought pattern because our thoughts, our words, quantum physics, it influences our physiology. So if we literally talk about how we can't see anything, how are we supposed to see something, right?
No, it's a great point because when I'm working with people and healing their guts, they can't stomach their life. They can't, there's so many analogies around, got a gut feeling and, sick to my stomach. And so it's very similar. So you got to be really, really careful because words have weight, words have frequency of what's coming out of our mouth and what our beliefs are because they very well show up as health problems. Um, I love you brought up, and I haven't heard this before, light sensitivity. So is that something that can be improved in as well?
Absolutely. So I was super addicted to sunglasses. I wore them literally even on an overcast day. I did not leave the house without sunglasses. Now, so-called refractive errors that I was touching on earlier, which is kind of related to the refraction of light on the cornea and the lens, to get more technical, what we call nearsighted, farsighted, or astigmatism is always related to light sensitivity, because if the eyes are not able to receive light, how they are supposed to refract it properly. And so sunglasses basically teach your brain to never engage the pupillary reaction. So let me backtrack. The pupils are natural built-in sunglasses. When it's really bright, they're very relaxed and small. And when it's dark, they open up like a camera aperture, right? So, but if we always wear sunglasses, the pupils are always a little bit larger than they should be, because and also, because it's dark, the sunglasses are dark, so the brain thinks, oh, it's night, like we should, and it's dark, so we open up the pupils a little bit. So first of all, that makes you look more light sensitive. And then when we add the stress we talked about earlier, when you're in the sympathetic nervous system response, in the stress response, your pupils will dilate a little bit. That's part of the stress response. And also your periphery would shut down. So you get more of a tunnel vision effect. And of course, then you get migraines and headaches, because now you get more light into your eyes. Even if you take your sunglasses off, right? You get more light into your eyes. Or if you leave them on, the brain just thinks it's night. So you never train your pupils to react to bright light. And that was a big thing for me. I couldn't drive at night. I was afraid those bright headlights. And if you actually learn how to expose your eyes to sunlight, night driving is a huge problem for many of my clients. All of a sudden, it's no big deal anymore. So, does that make sense? So, we need to train that little muscle that controls the pupillary reaction. If we never expose the eyes to bright light, how are they supposed to ever be able to constrict to that level?
Well, so you said stress is, the biggest problem when it comes to vision. So how does that fit into, staring at screens all day? Is that a stressor, or is that kind of a misnomer? Is that what's causing a lot of people's vision problems today?
I love that question. So, stress is the root cause of vision problems, but screens are like basically leading people to have bad habits. Studies have found that when we look at another human, we blink a lot more, like naturally. Because have you ever done eye gazing and you look at somebody's eyes and they just stare at you and they don't blink? It feels really creepy, right? When we look at screens, however, for some reason, we get into that staring mode, right? We don't blink. And that is not so much stress, that is more bad vision habits. So that's another thing I work on with my clients, is really teaching them, like turning poor habits into good ones. And one of these good habits is blinking, just like breath. We do it automatically, but we do not always do it well. We might be breathing a lot into our chest, especially when we are stressed, and then we get tension all up here and we don't get enough blood to the brain and not enough lymph can drain, right? And so blinking is one of those things that we can practice. Once we become aware of it, we can practice. And I used to put a sticker on my computer when I first started this, blink, 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 because I literally wanted to teach myself to blink more. Um, so screens are usually not helpful, but I've done a 3-day event, 28 hours on the screen, and everybody improved their vision. So, you know what I mean? Like screens, if you know how to use them, they won't be a problem. But if you don't know how to use them, most of us have really bad habits, and also our ergonomics and how the screen is set up and the posture, and that there's a lot more that goes into that.
Well, and that totally makes sense. And actually, and it can cause more stress because we are not blinking, and that it's a not a natural way for us to be, except if we're in a stressful situation, to have our eyes open and staring at something like that. So
Right.
when I was in Dr. Amy Apigian's, biology of trauma course, that was one thing that she taught was call a scanning, so it was blinking and looking around instead of staring at something, because that staring at something actually will send signals to our nervous system that there's trouble, right? That we're staring at something, so there must be some trouble. And so it's fascinating how all that stuff is connected and going on in the background, that we don't even realize that we're now kicking that fight or flight response by staring at something for too long, because that's not how we are naturally made to do, right?
Exactly. Staring is one of those bad habits, but also our nervous system, our biology is not designed to look up close for 8, 10, 12 hours a day. When we look up close, our eyes have to converge. Here's my little eyeballs. So basically they have to come in toward each other. So the inner muscles near the nose have to contract, the lateral ones have to relax, and then also the lens has to get thicker in order to look up close. It has to get fatter or bulgier. And so the ciliary muscle has to tighten. So there is a muscular effort when it comes to looking up close to compared to looking far away. And our eyes or our brain, our biology is meant to move basically all day. It's not meant to be static or frozen in one place. And that's why I always give this tip to all my students. Place your computer at a window, and I'm doing this right now, and I can easily look at a tree like I don't even know how many meters on my like away, but I can easily look all the way into the distance without having to do the 20-20-20 rule where you get up every 20 minutes and you set timers. And I'm always like, who does that? I'm always
I know.
I'm always about practical things that people can easily implement.
Yeah, I do. I'm a timer gal. My boyfriend
Okay.
gets mad at me because there's always timers going off. He's like, "You and your timers." I'm like, "How do people function without them? I don't know." But no, so I've got curtains up right now, so I don't have my windows. But there's been a few times while you're talking, I'm looking up and trying to focus on things away because I just know that it's not great to sit there and stare at something. So yes, there's ways to work around stuff. If you do have to work on the computer all day because some people are like, well, that's my job. That's what I got to do. Well, there's ways to work with it, right?
Exactly. And the other tip I give with computers is that you want to stimulate your peripheral field. So most people think of vision just as what we call visual acuity is how sharp you see in the eye chart. That's what you get glasses for, right? That's kind of one aspect. But the visual field is how far is your peripheral field, and really wide. Can have up to 220 degrees, beyond 180 degrees on the sides. And then on the bottom, we have more peripheral than on the top, right? Probably because we don't have a lot of predators from the top.
Mm.
But when you think about it, so when we are in that stress mode, that whole peripheral field shuts down. And that's another thing, by the way. Do I have a pair of glasses for demonstration? Yep. I always find glasses at the beach. So when people wear glasses, right, I'm putting a pair of glasses on, they think that the whole part behind the glass is sharp and all the stuff on the side is super blurry. And basically, there is this tunnel vision, right? A lot of people with glasses have that kind of really hard stare because they kind of ignore everything on the side, thinking there's nothing to see anyway. Now, the anatomy of our eyes, only the fovea, only the tiny, tiny, tiny spot in the back directly behind when the light goes in, is like the size of a pinhead, is where we have super sharp vision. Everything, of course, when it's closer to that spot, it looks better than the further away it is, the fuzzier it is in terms of peripheral vision. But we need to learn this, that the eyes have to move all the time in order to see sharp. So think of, you know what I mean? So if you only have one tiny spot that's perfectly clear, your eyes have to move a lot to kind of get to see a lot of things clearly. Does that make sense? So and that's a bad habit. When people wear glasses, they usually have really bad vision habits and very sluggish eye movements. And that's what we have to work on. And those are techniques that I'm teaching. But my goal is that once you learn that, just like blinking more and breathing better, you don't have to keep doing it for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. I know that I never heard you say that before, but that makes total sense. Like, duh. Like, so we've got, vision that we can see up here, but our peripheral now is super blurry because it hasn't been corrected. So really, for glasses to work for us correctly, they kind of they need to wrap around, right?
Not really, because the peripheral field, we have different cells in the periphery called the rod cells. They are also the cells that see at night. They have only black and white vision. They're not very sharp. So our vision tapers off. So think about when you look at something, if you look at my, I don't know, left eye, you see that left eye better. You will not even see my right eye as sharp as the left eye unless you look at the right eye. So in other words, you're shifting your focus. And the further away, let's say you look at my left eye, the further away other things in the background, away from my left eye, the less well you see them.
Okay.
Versus maybe blurry is not the right word. So in order, when we want to focus at something, we usually move our head around, we look at it straight on. We don't like move our eyes to the corners to kind of try to see something. You know what I
Good,
mean? So,
good point.
and that's things that I'm teaching. It's like, how does the anatomy of the eye work, and how do we see in the brain, and how do we what are the bad habits that we have to undo? And one of the bad habits is definitely glasses, because they also create a huge distortion. I don't know, you were nearsighted. I think nearsighted glasses make everything smaller. So they basically, you know what I mean? How they, so think of looking through a sunglass or a burning glass, like the, or like a magnifying glass when you're farsighted, right? Everything looks larger. So there is a distortion of the world when you use glasses because they have different strengths and lenses in them. And it's almost like a barrier between you and the world that creates a distortion in terms of size. And most people, because we get so used to wearing them, it's like same with gut issues, right? If you always have bloating, it's almost like you don't even think about that that's not normal, right? Or you always have neck tension, or your vision is blurry. You know what I mean? Like you're not even, or you're so used to your glasses. Have you ever put on the glass of somebody else and you're like, wait, oh, you want to rip them off your face because you're not used to that distortion. And people have to kind of slowly get out of this. It's like what's another anatomy metaphor? Like say you have a back brace the whole time because you're like, oh, my back is so weak, right? So when you take it off, you're like, oh, I'm so weak because you're not even used to like using your own body strength. I don't know.
Uh,
That's not it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So the glasses are technically making your eyes more weak.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're like a brace. They're like a brace for your eyes, and they're making them more weak. And so it's fascinating to think that blurry vision, right? It's just another. It's a symptom. It's basically a symptom, right?
It is exactly a symptom. It's funny. I just saw a reel on Instagram where somebody taped over their engine light coming on, and I always talk about this. Blurry vision is the engine light coming on. And instead of with the engine light, we always go to the mechanic. Hey, what's wrong with my car? You wouldn't just keep driving it or tape it over. But with our vision, then we get glasses or we just fix it with a symptomatic approach or just looking like what is behind the blurry vision. And as we get older, and I know that's stuff that you teach as well, cataract, some of these eye diseases are related to like steroid use, smoking, heart disease, diabetes, so some of those things are not about glasses, they are really about systemic issues.
Wait, so cataracts are connected to disease? Like it's not just an old age thing?
No, but it's like if you have decades, I mean, I used to smoke cigarettes. I'm totally fessing up here
I
back
did.
in the day, right? So I just had a client in my program and she had a stage 3 out of stage 4 is the highest, stage 3 cataract. And I asked her, what's your A1C, your blood sugar? And she was like, I don't know. So she went to the doctor and it was like 5.9. She lowered it to 5.2. And guess what? Her cataracts are now a stage 1.5. So they improved.
What?
Yeah, but this is the stuff where they always tell you, oh, you're just nothing to worry about. And so I always say eye diseases are often lifestyle related. Actually, stronger glasses have put you at a higher risk if you are nearsighted, put you at a higher risk for macular degeneration, retinal detachment, glaucoma, cataracts, because the eyeball gets distorted. It's a complicated thing to all explain this here shortly, but think of your eyes just as a reflection of your overall health in a way, right? Your brain, like your mindset, your overall health, your of
My
everything.
future is bright. I can see clearly.
Yeah. But it's really a reflection of like all the medications, the side effects of so many things. Lead is a main root cause of cataracts, for instance, or steroid use, like long-term steroid use. And people don't really know about these things, and they just think it's just age.
I didn't. That's why I was just shocked. And I used to work in a LASIK shop, and we used to do cataract surgery. And I was like, wait, you're telling me that cataracts are actually a symptom of disease, that it's just not a symptom of old age?
Yep.
Ah,
It's just
crazy.
after decades of, doing things not so well, not eating well, maybe drinking too much, taking all this, whatever, we all done things, right? Nobody is perfect, but I always say it's never too late to make changes. And that's really the key message here today is like, don't think just because you're 60. I've had people in their 90s in my program. So it's never too late, but the earlier you do it, the better the results and the faster the results. So don't delay.
Absolutely. I know I still want to go one of these days. I still want to go through your program. Because I've just, like I said, just a little bit that I've gotten from like the free intro and stuff like that. It's just been such great little nuggets. So, and every time I talk with you, I learn something new. I learn something new. I learn something new. And so I want to go through one of these days. But so why we're on that path, like it's a perfect segue, shameless plug time of the show. What is this program you're talking about? How can people learn more and work with you?
So that program is called Naturally Clear Vision. It's my 12-week program, and I'm going to run it again very soon. What I usually do, because here's what people don't know that this exists, right? It's still kind of really underground to talk about vision improvement. So I always say, don't believe me, don't believe your eye doctor, see for yourself. And I have a free 4-day training coming up. I call it See Better in Just 4 days. It's basically a little mini thing that you do every day just to learn that what you do actually has an impact on your vision. And it's not just age and it's not just genetics and all these things. So that's really what I'm excited to teach. And you can probably put a link in the show notes to get access to that free course. And obviously, doing that program, we invite people to join my Natural Key Vision program. However, the 4-day training teaches you a lot of great information that if so it's not just a lead into the big program. It's really a great way for you to see for yourself that you can make changes, and it's up to you.
Absolutely. And like I said, I can speak, I can testimonial, I've done the 4-day. I've seen her on other webinars and they've kept me out of readers and glasses. You know, I'm going to be 48 soon and technically I should have been wearing something a long time ago. So absolutely, if you're wearing vision or you've got issues that are just starting, or if you've been wearing glasses or anything for a long time, it's like she said, it's never too late to get started. So while you go to the show notes and figure that out, also make sure to go to wearenikki.com/podcast and enter in BioBeats to receive 10% off. One of the things that I like doing as well is because she talked about stress and inflammation is using the inflammation frequency on the Nikki device. It helped amazingly when I was having issues with my eyes from stress. But one of the ways that we show appreciation is that we give away a Nikki device as well as a 1-year membership to our wellness store every month on the show. So make sure to go to the show notes so you can learn how to enter. Want to wish you good luck and thank you for joining us. Make sure to have a healthy day.
What is the wellness store, you ask? Let me tell you. Imagine a single place where every Nikki Wellness program, present and future, are ready whenever you are. The Nikki Wellness Store turns that vision into reality, offering a membership that keeps you connected to the most complete library of wellness support programs we've ever created. One membership, infinite access. With a Nikki Wellness Store membership, unlimited access to the full Nikki Wellness library, automatic updates as new programs are released, the freedom to create personalized daily playlists on the Nikki Connect app, and we continually design new programs. Your membership will grow with you at no additional cost. Because wellness technology never stops improving, and neither do you. It's more than a membership. Every wellness store membership begins with the purchase of their Nikki Wellness Technology, a wearable device that delivers wellness programs wherever life takes you. Your membership includes 1 full year of unlimited access to the complete wellness library and all future program releases. After the first year, your access continues with a simple annual renewal fee. So your library and collaborations with trusted global innovators keeps growing without interruption. This isn't just an upward, it's a movement toward a future where wellness technology never stops improving because neither do you. Join the movement. The Nikki Wellness Store isn't just a milestone, it's the future of wellness designed for freedom, value, and constant growth. New customers that join us will automatically get 1-year membership to the Nikki Wellness Store. Current customers that have already owned a Nikki, you will be grandfathered in and given a 2-year membership. And that's a thank you for walking with us for all this time.
There's a new word for wellness, Nikki. Nikki is your personal wellness companion, a sleek wearable device that lets you choose from a variety of programs to match your day. With a simple tap on the Nikki screen, you can explore wellness programs created for different moments and lifestyles. Need a lift? Select energy. Looking to unwind? Tap stress and anxiety. Want to feel more at ease? Choose pain. Heading out on a trip? Try travel to help you feel ready for new adventures. From busy mornings to quiet evenings, Nikki puts a variety of wellness experiences right at your fingertips and on your wrist. Life moves fast. Nikki moves with you. It's a portable way to bring wellness technology into your everyday routine, wherever life takes you. Your day, your choice, your wellness program. Nikki Wellness Technology. Delivering frequency-enhanced health. wearenikki.com. The views, information, and opinions expressed in this content are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Freemedica. Freemedica Technologies, Inc. and its employees are not responsible, nor verifies accuracy any of the information contained in the following content. The primary purpose of this content is to educate and inform. This content does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services.